you're talking about that chaos, is when you're saying chaos, is that a sense of anxiety?
I think I didn't know how to label it anxiety at that point. Because I never heard anytime somebody said, "Hey man, you should meet my therapist," I'm like, I'm not going to a therapist. You know what I mean? Like in my mind, partially probably because my dad grew up on a farm and his dad grew up on a farm, and they were both in World War II and Vietnam. And it's just like that was their mentality. So like, I thought that you had to be a crazy person to go to a therapist. So like when anybody told me like, you should talk to my guy, I'm like, I'm not doing that. So, and when I finally got like the nerve to go and like accept that it was a something that was possible and it was okay, I fought every single one of these therapists. I must have seen 5 therapists before I was like, okay, they're all telling me the same thing, that I have to start listening to something because I'm not the smartest guy in the room. So I guess the anxiety was there, but I didn't know how to label it anxiety. I didn't know how to label it depression. I didn't know how to, and I didn't understand what the triggers of it were and like how it was working. But yes, I was like, man, I'm still anxious, still socially anxious, and still I get depressed, but I'm not. During that time, which also exacerbated the whole situation, was if I wanted a Snickers bar at 3:00 in the morning, I just had to pick up my cell phone and text somebody, and then it was there. So I was overusing alcohol to compensate for all this, because everybody drank all the time. You're on a plane, you drink. You're in a studio, you drink. You're at the club, you drink. Like I'm DJing, I'm producing. It's like commonplace everywhere. So it was one of those things where, before I started getting this ultra high level of pressure and anxiety and whatever, I was drinking for fun. I was using it as a treat and not a treatment, as they would say. And then generally that comes to replace it as a treatment. And I was just overdoing it crazy and using it as a tool to deal with all my anxiety and depression, which then exacerbated the anxiety and depression. And it's just, it starts crashing and burning, I guess you'd say.
It's a very difficult choice point. I think what you described is so common for people, because everyone assumes that people get into issues with alcohol or other substances from a bad place. But a lot of times it comes from a good place. Things are going well, you're having fun. And the substance itself, the process of addiction and what it does to your body creates the bad place. And now all of a sudden you've got this confusing sense, because this used to be part of what was great. And it doesn't stop and say, okay, now it's bad. It kind of starts blending over time. Yeah. And I think people get very confused about that, because they think to themselves, it's like, well, wait a minute, I wasn't drinking because I was anxious and depressed. I was having fun. Why am I not having fun anymore?
Right. Yeah, totally. And listen, what even made it more confusing is I was the most well-known, the most successful. I was making the most money. I could literally decide in the morning that I wanted to go to Argentina and go if I wanted to. I could do anything I wanted. But inside, I was just completely wrecked. So those two things, and it's funny because I didn't really know anybody to talk to about it at that time. But now I can see it happening in other people. And I'm able to be like, hey man, I've turned into one of the voices that people were telling me at that point, which is like a whole 360 thing where now I'm talking to people like, you should check out this guy, and they're like, no, I'm not doing that. And I'm able to explain through my experience to somebody else exactly what they're going through, which is a gift. In hindsight, it's a complete gift.